Are you looking to expand your mind? Do you like to challenge and be challenged? Looking to improve yourself and share your experiences professionally and personally? You're in the right place. Welcome to Scoutcast, Roasting Marshmallows, with your host, Rolf Surd.
Oh, and we are live. Welcome back to another session of Roasting Marshmallows. My name is Rolf Surd and I'll be your host. I think you guys have missed us last week. We had a podcast planned, but we actually had a fabulous photo shoot in the Four Scouts headquarters. So due to that, we did not have the opportunity to record a podcast. So for those of you who have missed us, we're sorry, but we're back. And today we're actually talking...
But we will share the fabulous photos, though?
For sure. It's going to be all over our LinkedIn websites, ad campaigns, it's going to be great. I've actually already shared them at a customer today, the photo shoot. So, and they love them.
Hi.
So today it's all about the team, man.
Sorry.
It's all about us. It's all about the team. It's all about you as well, the listener. I'm sure you're part of some team somewhere as well. And, teams, we always want them to be a cohesive unit, to perform under pressure, to always get the best result possible. And in order to do that, you have to have some amount of trust within the team. Building trust will enable you to do great things. So today we thought that we would share with you our story of how we build trust amongst each other. It's not always pretty, let me tell you that. We have some disagreements here and there. I'm sure looking at the smiles that you can see that the guys agree. And we thought that we would just share with you some of the things along the way. So today I have Sylvester and Hiken Arno in the studio with me. Welcome, dudes.
Hi, man.
Hi. And so Sylvester, you're a reader of Patrick Lencioni, among others. And many of these books, they also stress the importance of building trust. So before we come to the cool stories and the quotables, maybe could you give us your take on what it is to have good trust in your team and what does that mean? Well, what does it enable teams to do?
Well, first, compliments for that introduction, because we literally just came up with this topic, I think, for this podcast, right? And transparency, as we always had as a value, I think it's important to share that. So kudos. That's actually a cool introduction. Huh? Now to rethink about your question, what does it mean to me, and why it's important? Well, I think how to start with this. When we started Four Scouts, it was quite a few years back. We actually started already pretty soon with the core value of transparency, and I think that to me that's kind of like it was a baby step compared to where we're at now, but it's about making everything out in the open, right? And basically trusting your colleagues that they will do the right thing with it. And that leads to an environment where people will actually do the right thing. I think we talked about that before, right? But as soon as you start saying, well, I want the hours that we work for a client at the first of every month, or basically the last day of every month, and you're going to start measuring on that, that becomes the target, that becomes the goal. And I don't want that stuff.
So, a question just in meanwhile. So you think transparency leads to trust?
Yes.
That's what you're saying?
Yes.
But could you also have trust without transparency, do you think?
No.
So you're 100% transparent to your wife. I want this on record, huh?
That is deep, huh? Oh my God.
Does she listen to the podcast, Sylvester? She's going to become a listener now, I think.
Probably.
I'm actually going to tell her now to follow this one, just to be sure.
Sorry, yeah?
Yeah, but following up this, right? I think you can have, I disagree. I think you can have trust without transparency, because I think there are different types of trust, right? So if I look from the point of view that, I'm a climber, I go to the climbing hall to climb, and sometimes I don't have my partner, the buddy with me that climbs all the time, that sometimes is Punchy and that you guys know in the podcast, and Jackie. But sometimes I have to climb with somebody that I don't know, and I trust my life that this person is going to catch me. So I actually trust my life from the hands of this person that I have never spoke to, just because, we are part of the same climbing gym. And I'm not transparent or anything. It's just there is some sort of a trust.
But how did you get to that trust? Because in order to build trust, you need to have some sort of, I don't know, common grounds or a
Maybe
conversation?
it's just a blind trust because they are there, they made a course, and I believe they know what they're doing, and then I'm giving my life to them. But I mean, I would think that there is levels of trust.
But does that work the same? Like, let's say you join a company as a new team member. You've never spoken to these people before. You have no idea who they are. You just jump in and you blindly trust them because they're in the same company as you, in the same team with the same task.
That would be my default behavior,
Okay.
yes. I would trust on them until
They prove otherwise.
something happens, yeah.
Proven otherwise, yeah.
Yeah.
But with the climbing, isn't it transparent that they're actually holding the rope? You see them doing that, right?
Wow, not when I'm on the top. No, I don't see it. And then when I
Oh.
fall, I just hope that they catch me.
So then,
I don't think hope and trust is the same thing.
No.
so then the obvious question that comes to my mind, of course, is when you say like, well, my default behavior is to trust my team. And then, my trust is going to go away once they, prove otherwise. So have we proven you otherwise at some point where you've lost some trust in one of us?
So, okay. And now
Or
okay.
is it too
Yeah.
soon?
This
Is
is,
it too
uh,
soon?
No, so yes, answering your question is not that the trust goes away. It definitely creates a
Okay.
friction, like a crack, like I don't know, a rupture, and that's why what I believe you become a high performing team because you are able to fix
Mhm.
that, and then if you don't fix it, yes, you lose the trust. But if you fix it, the trust goes higher.
Okay.
Yeah, but you need to address it.
Yes, you need to address it, but it definitely happened that I felt like with probably myself, with each one of you, a moment that I felt like, okay, you lost my trust here. And then at some point we address it and then actually I trust more.
Yeah. So is it then like a disappointment or more of like a anger or like what?
Well, so let's say concrete
Yeah,
example,
let's do it.
right?
Let's have a-
Okay, like we're talking honest and
let's have a story.
transparency, let's talk about that. So we had about 2 weeks ago our most famous speaker in the podcast, that was
Yep.
Woody. And Rove had to basically leave
Yep.
earlier. And then I got extremely frustrated with it, right? Like, okay, I don't understand this. I don't understand why would you leave right now in that situation. There is a lot of work that we put
Mhm.
into this. So I did get
Mhm.
angry and I think disappointed because I was not expecting that type of thing. And then I lashed out to my colleagues because you were not
Yeah.
there. And then eventually you came back to me to talk and I shared it, right? Like, hey man, I needed to
Yeah.
say this. And then you took your responsibility on that. Like, I understand that I let you guys down and sorry for that. And there is no excuse
Yeah.
for it. And then for me, that rebuilt the trust, not only rebuilt it like, in the moment I was angry, I was disappointed, but then made me confident that this would not happen again. If it will, of course it happened again, but in a different context. So that's how I saw it. In the moment it's horrible, right? It's just like all the negative emotions, well, if there is such a thing, they are there. But because we could speak about it and then figure out how to do better next time, then I think the trust gets really strong.
Yeah, and about that, sometimes I feel that if someone calls you out on something, it's okay to say like, "Yo, you're right. I fucked it up, and I messed it up, and I promise to do better next time, or promise to schedule my stuff better next time, or whatever. But at least learn from it." And I think that is very important, and that's, I guess, how you, like what you said earlier, is that how your team becomes better and better because people call each other out on stuff that they see or that they experience, and then the other parties can say like, you have a point there, and let's improve, and it's kind of like a retrospective, right? You get some action points maybe here and there, stuff to work on, and as a whole, the team is going to be a better unit, hopefully.
Yeah. I think that's actually the same practice that's described in Radical Candor, right?
And what's that practice?
There was a book
That's
we
a
also
book,
started reading, I don't know, 2 years ago maybe.
So for the listener who doesn't
that-
know, like which book are you now referring to? By which author?
I'm referring to the book Radical Candor. It's written by Kim Scott, I think, according to Google, because I really had to Google that really fast there. But basically, I still remember that introduction, and we've had that situation as well, right? There was this sales guy coming into a startup, and basically he wasn't doing well. But instead of addressing the situation, telling him, okay, you're not doing well, you need to improve this, this, and this, people actually shielded them or him up to the point where the company simply wasn't able to make it anymore, and they had to let him go. And then he got furious because why didn't you tell me this earlier? Then I could have improved. And I think that's kind of like the trap we always fall for, right? We're trying to shield people by not giving them the hard truth, but it kind of backfires in the end.
And that's
And
the
do you
question,
think-
are we trying to shield people, or are we just trying to protect ourselves from the confrontation that is going to come?
The first
right?
part, yeah.
Yeah, sure. I think we are just trying to protect ourselves.
Of course. Yeah, I think you're right.
And did the situation ever happen at Force Scouts?
I think it's almost every week, man.
Well, it's
I
about the
think we
shielding,
have-
right? Not doing the conversation.
Ah, okay, you mean the
Well,
shielding.
I know what you're aiming for, I know. So I'll help you out here.
I'm just poking a bit, huh?
I'm just poking a bit. Yeah, that's how we know you. Now, also a few years back, I actually got a coffee mug from you guys that says "World's Best Mom" or "Best Mom Ever," something along those lines. And basically, what you actually the point you made was, okay, stop trying to shield people and just let them face the hard truths on their own. So to me, that was kind of like, okay, this is radical candor in my face. So I'm not sure was radical candor or more obnoxious aggression or something along those lines.
More obnoxious aggression, yes.
Yeah, but it worked. In the end, it took me a while to realize that. So yes, this happens in Force Scouts.
But do you think would have worked better if we did this feedback in a less obnoxious, aggressive way?
No, in this particular case, it worked, and it shook me up at least. So, and no, I don't think it matters per se in our team, right? Because we can take a lot from each other.
Yeah, but it did not start like that, right?
No, of course not.
Yeah, so I think that's more like, do you guys remember? Because, okay, we are a team now, we are working together for like, well, I'm the youngest in the team compared to you guys. So at least...
Starting an age
He
discussion now,
always likes
because,
to...
Well, that's not what I tried
He's a
to say.
junior.
I tried to say that I'm the latest hire on this group right now, right? So that means
The
if
junior,
I'm working
yeah.
for Force Scout for 3.5 years, this team is together in this setup for 3.5
You're
years.
still getting my coffee, right?
Exactly, I do that. I go to Assen every day.
Sorry,
You
continue.
forget
but the
Barbara,
point is
that's
like-
fine.
that I'm saying in the call right now.
and Panzer.
Uh, So do you see how annoying this is, guys? Yes,
Yes,
that's how it
every
is on a
day.
daily basis. But like, do you remember when was the first time we tried to actually apply that, right? Like when was the first confrontation or the first time that you became vulnerable to one of your colleagues?
Are you asking me or the whole...
Anyone.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a...
Oh, that's a long
Yeah.
time ago, man.
I do remember the first time I was actually struggling with basically that example I just gave from that book, Radical Candor. And I think it took me months to actually make the decision to start telling it to people. And I still don't do it enough.
For me, I think it was...
And,
sorry to interrupt there, but for me it was like
Oh.
after you guys recommended the culture code to me, to read that one. And because before that, you know, you guys were talking about it, like radical candor and all these things, but it were just words to me, like, ah, man, these guys read another book and, you know, spouting some words here in my face, but, you know, what I don't know what this has to do with work. You know, but then you read a specific book and, you know, get the stories there, and then you can really visualize it and apply it maybe to your own daily routine. And yeah, to me, that was the start after reading that book. Like, what was it? 2 years ago now, I think.
That's
Yeah, I
the
think even
culture code by Daniel
Yes,
Coyle,
yeah.
right?
Wow.
And
I
we
Googled that
we
for you
still
as
need to
well.
do some of
Nice.
these trainings together, right? Like as a Marine Corps or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Actually,
I think that was one of the books that definitely it triggered me a lot on the way how I saw this soft things. That's why people call soft, but it's actually pretty hard. But it was one of the triggers for me as well.
yeah, we had the culture code, And then I think we also started reading more about Patrick Lencioni, and I think a lot of the things he actually addresses, right? I think the first one was actually Getting Naked is one of his books.
Yeah.
And it actually talks about a consulting company and how they're approaching their clients. And I think a lot of the stuff in there is actually about being vulnerable, right? Just starting to help a client instead of trying to sell something.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Arno is being very silent. So maybe we should pick on him. Like, yeah. So if we talk about
Pick on him.
vulnerability,
Come on,
right? When did you experience that you wanted to become vulnerable with us? Or you still are not vulnerable to us?
I'm not sure if I want it right now, you know?
Yes, you want it.
Okay. I think I'm actually always open to it. Because even before Force Scouts, I always bring my whole self somehow. I just go for stuff. If I'm pissed, I'm pissed. If I'm open. So I think the emotions come with it anyways. And the vulnerability part is just... I think it makes sense. And I think
like,
the
do you
book just
feel-
gave it a name.
But do you think you are vulnerable with every person?
No, because I can't. There must be a sort of trust. But I think that was always before I haven't read the book, I needed that. I just gave it a name.
And then he just said like his trust levels start at a reasonably high rate when he's in a new team or a new client or whatever. Is that the same for you as well? Like, do you go in there with, assuming everyone has best intentions for you as well?
No,
So
doesn't work for me.
so that's interesting, right? So your trust levels when you're in a new team is like what, 10% or something, or 20% or whatever?
Yeah, it has to build, definitely. I'm not saying 10%, that's pretty low.
I'm
But
just spouting random numbers here. But how does it build for you? Like, how can a team?
I think just working together, talk together and then get to know each other a little bit better.
Yeah,
And then afterwards even work together and see what happens there. Because sometimes you have people that, play the politics game, which I definitely don't, as you guys know. And if they play that game against me, then it's done.
yeah.
Why?
I think it skips the transparency, as you said before. And I think that breaks
Yeah, I
my
agree,
trust
but-
anyways. So, yeah.
So you agree with me?
Yes and no. In
This
some
is
parts,
Mr. I
yes.
don't agree. So this is actually rather impressive. But
Well,
yes
the thing
and
is,
no?
he can still, let's say, for example, for the politics sake, he can still, or the guy itself can still hate me or whatever, dislike me, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the trust is broken. He's just not transparent about it.
Yeah, so basically then you disagree with Sylvester that transparency is required for having a trust.
Yes, I just wanted to make that point, yes.
Okay, yeah.
But
But it's a nice try, Sylvester.
Well, I'll
Pretty
get you to
hard,
agree at
that's
some point. Actually, we figured this part out as part of our own trust exercise, right? One of the advices that we got was, okay, start doing personality tests. And I'm still not sure whether we should base a lot on the personality test. But I think it's actually about kind of like an act of being vulnerable, right? Taking a personality test and blindly sharing the results of that with your teammates.
and
You think
Whatever
so?
is in
would
there.
you be
That's-
comfortable?
yeah,
would
I
you be
think
comfortable sharing it with our listener as well? Like, what was your profile? Do you remember?
It depends on which test you're talking about, because I do think we took quite a few over the years. I think the 15 personalities, I think I ended up being the debater or something. I would have to Google that
Yeah.
again, but
I think I was
Yeah.
I was the mediator. I think, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, the
yeah.
mediator.
that kind of fits you as well.
And Heek, what was your personality?
I think it was the
The
entrepreneur.
entrepreneur. Okay. Yeah. And Arno.
I don't remember.
Something that doesn't agree with something.
Yeah.
Always
Yeah.
are no.
Most likely.
I think
I have to.
The thing is,
have
like
to
what I
Google it as well.
remember, we did the big five, right? Like that talks about agreeableness and a bunch of things. And Arno got,
I don't
if
wanna share
out of
that one.
100 people, I will share it on your behalf. So out of 100 people, he is the least agreeable person you can meet in life.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, he actually looked at it and he said, I don't agree with this.
Yeah, man.
that was cool.
But I think he is changing. I think he is adapting.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
Isn't it sometimes tiring though, Arno? Like, because I work with you at a bunch of clients, and then I mean you are very, very good. No, I mean this in the
I'm not
in the most optimal way. You're always poking like, okay, what if we don't do it? Like, and why do you want this? Right? Really focusing on like, explain to me the outcome that you're trying to achieve here, and then really just relentless in and I think it's good, right? It really brings home the point as to we're not doing this just to burn a bunch of hours and to do whatever task someone gives us, but more like there has to be some sort of outcome. So you're super relentless in that way, but don't you sometimes come home after a hard day's work and it's like, man, I'm tired of just debating this crap all the time?
yeah.
But then how do you recharge for the
That's the
next
shortest answer
how do
I
you
can.
recharge for the next day then? Like, is it just a wine?
I think as
So they are making you an alcoholic, unagreeable.
You're a nice dude though, don't get me wrong.
So, explain that one.
I think
You do
for
like to
me-
cook, right?
Yeah, I like to cook. I think it's a more a principle thing. I just really, really dislike working on stuff that doesn't matter.
Right.
I just get so frustrated and I hate it.
Yeah.
And I've done it in my life. When you're a junior, you build stuff that nobody's using for whatever reason. And I did that for years, I guess. Like some stuff was being used, obviously, but yeah, some stuff not. And I just hated it. Like, why am I even doing this? And it even got worse when I had kids.
Yeah.
So I worked on a project, I think it took like 3 months, which they had to convince me of doing it anyways, because I disagreed, as you guys would probably guess. And in the end, it got cancelled.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, yeah, okay, so in this 3 months, I could also sit at home with my kid, do other stuff,
And it's the
and
same
getting
outcome.
paid. It's the same
Yeah.
outcome. So,
Yeah, that's super
and
frustrating.
yeah, that's why I fight it consistently, because everybody in development knows it. Well, most should know it. People just bring stories to the table that bring nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. Or don't have a proper narrative on it.
Yeah.
Then yeah, why do it?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's why people dislike me.
Oh, I like you.
Oh, that's not true.
Say I'm not agreeable, huh?
That's something else that as not liking you.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
well, the relentless part of it, people don't like me for it.
No, I don't
No.
know. Like the thing is, I agree that sometimes it's tiring on the other side, right? Like we are in a meeting and something, and somebody just say, and I don't agree. Or like, oh no, here we go again. It's like, yeah, sometimes it is tiring to be on the other side, but I don't think it's about liking or disliking, right? It's like you bring a point, but it is like it is tiring, but that's all about it. I agree with Sylvester. It's not about liking or disliking here.
Well,
No, you need to
some people
understand
it is,
why
right?
you're doing it.
I
Not if
think
you
people
understand
start
why.
disliking it. Yeah, but that's the thing. People cannot bring the actual argument, and then that's where they start disliking it. If you can actually tell me why we should do it, and then maybe have some numbers, maybe have a narrative, then why not?
Then you can be
but
agreeable.
people just don't bring that.
Then you can be agreeable in those
Yeah.
cases. Yeah.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Hey, and Sylvester, you've...
But that's the
Oh,
thing.
sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah,
Go
so
ahead.
Sylvester, I was wondering, right, because you've been getting some, radical candor, sometimes some pretty harsh feedback from us.
You
Yeah.
think? Ah.
And I wanted to know how you would cope with that, but also, like, do you also give it back to us as well? Because I sometimes feel that
Not enough.
because I sometimes feel that
No.
the scales are a bit more tipped, like, to your way, where it's like, sometimes you even call it Sylvester bashing, right?
I'm hurting, man. I'm hurting.
Yeah. So, do you feel that you sometimes give us enough radical candor?
No, I don't give you enough radical candor.
Why not?
No. Good
Are you
question.
still- do we need to
Don't
get
you have
your
the trust?
the mug mum back?
Well, in our defense,
How about
we
the
gave you the world's
transparency
best
there, huh?
boss mug as well, right? So
Yeah. So I conquered
So
that one,
you're-
and we still need
Well,
to destroy the best
compensated.
We
mom
could
ever.
take it away, just saying.
Yes.
No, you can't.
we could
no.
take it away.
No, it's no longer in the
think,
office, I think. Oh shit, you're actually in the office. Anyway, so let me think about why I'm not doing that. I think it also has to do with I did stop being the mom, as I'm not per se protecting people anymore. So I'm growing towards a part where I actually tell you what I think.
Yep.
I am doing it here and there. But I also find it tricky because in a lot of things, right, you already know what to do, and who am I to tell you how to do it better? And I
How
think
do you
in
know
my
they know?
well, you're all
How
experts
do
in your
you-
own field.
And yet, doesn't mean that we know, right? I mean,
No, but in my role, if you will, right, as in I started Four Scouts and I'm the owner of Four Scouts, or part owner at least. I would rather see a discussion between you guys than between me and you guys. I still think that's different than, and this is being vulnerable, I guess. But I think that's different than.
all right, let's start giving feedback. I think this is wrong.
Yeah, I think so. Because no, I think it could be right, but then you're not part of the
I
team.
knew it's going to be Feedback Friday. That's my name for these things.
No, but like I think it.
Let me get a drink first. Then we no.
No, like seriously, it's like, why is that you can just not tell a feedback to us, independent of?
Well, it's also something to outgrow. But I remember one case with Arno, right? I think you were joking constantly during a conversation that got on my nerves. And we talked about it, so it's fine. I can use this as an example, right? I don't see you
course,
nodding
man.
because your camera's weird, but
No transparency here.
yeah. But I remember that example, so we walked back to the coffee machine and said, look, man, this is, right, I get that you're trying to make a joke, but this is annoying. And I tried to do it in the radical candor quadrant, and it seemed to work. But then right after, I also got feedback from Week, hey, this is actually one of the few times I see you do radical candor. I'm like, God, he's right.
But it's positive,
But
right?
it's just tricky to be, it is. It
I
is
mean, you can
positive.
interpret
On
it
the
as
other
being
hand,
negative, like, man, you never do it, and now finally you're doing it. But you could also say, like, hey, you're doing it, and take it as a compliment. But
True.
continue, sorry.
Yes.
Now I'm thinking. So short answer, I need to do it more. That's it.
Okay, we agree on that. Let's hope Arno agrees with that too.
Well, I just wondering why that should change right now, but why not really do that before? Because
Yeah,
if transparency is the value, then I don't see why you didn't do it before. And you
Exactly,
said it,
because
that
our
trust and
muscles very
transparency are the same. Don't you trust us?
I trust you guys, yes, with my life.
Wow. Okay, don't go that
I
far.
wouldn't do that,
Like,
man. That's too much.
Oh, we went, what's it called? Wakeboarding. So yeah, pretty sure I trust you guys with my life. I don't know. I honestly don't. I don't have an answer for you why I don't do it enough. If I do remember why, because well, we talked about this before the podcast as well. With Aik, I do have a lot of
Who is
let's call
that?
them heated. Aik, that's you, Hank, or
Hanky.
I don't know, Brazilian. I don't know how
Yeah.
to pronounce it, and that's really shitty of me. But you still won't repeat it enough times, so I can actually learn how to pronounce it.
Okay,
So
let's
until
focus,
that point,
focus.
it's Aik. What was I going to say? Well, we have a lot of heated arguments or discussions, I think. And I think, well, quite a few of them actually okay, let's talk about this later, right? And then I do think we give each other more feedback. I'm still not sure whether it's radical candor. At least not a concrete example as I could just describe for you. So I don't know. So, but why don't you give more radical candor then?
You're talking about me, or?
No, sorry, I'm looking to Arno. That doesn't really work on a podcast. Yeah.
So I know.
I don't do that.
Well, I would have to think back, right? When did you give me radical candor on what you think I did wrong and how I should improve? Or, well, not even how I should improve, that you told me in my face, you're doing this wrong.
Damn, I like this.
Well, for that to happen, we should talk more and see each other more.
Okay.
I don't think that's happening very often right now, to be honest.
I hear excuses, but it's okay.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I was just in the office, right? But doesn't really matter.
For 10 minutes. Yeah, okay.
No,
I think that's a reason
I
for
get
it to
what you're
be
saying.
but
Okay, but
Okay,
then,
so that's the
then
part here.
I can use your line, Sylvester. Then why didn't you give me more feedback?
well, we need to see each other. No.
I think it's the same, right? Do I see you that often? Just the stand-up in the morning for 15
Well,
minutes. and
we
I think
did
that's it.
several customers together, and I don't think I ever got feedback from you.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, but that's something I should work on then. Or I just
don't
don't
know.
say it like the radical candor part, or say it differently. Maybe I make a joke out of it, because that's also something I would do.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
don't think it comes across as strong as being
not
actually
transparency.
radical candor.
But I
I'll
think
go
that's
on
an
the
interesting thing,
transparent.
right? Because if I think about, let's say, the way how we work, and I consider us a high-performing team, right? Maybe
Yeah.
some other companies would not, but let's say
Mhm.
I do. And there is I read this blog post about that. Basically, you should not create this culture that you ask people to give feedback, but more like invite for feedback, right?
Yep.
Otherwise, you create this culture of like assholes of just saying all the time what is wrong, what you can do better, and blah blah blah. And what do you guys think? Like, do you think you ask for feedback very often, or
I actually
not at all?
I actually never ask for it explicitly. Now that I think of it, so
I don't think I do that often either.
yeah. And part of me might be
That's a downer.
part of me might not do that because I am confident in what I do, and part might also be afraid of what you might hear, right? So
Yeah.
it's definitely a little bit of both, I think, which contradict it themselves as well, right? Yeah, I know that I'm doing the right thing, but I'm actually scared to ask for confirmation or whatever. So that's a bit of a weird situation to be in, I guess. Would you agree? Yeah.
Silent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
sorry.
I think I ask a lot. Like, okay, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
And but I think I'm in a different process in my life that I need to hear a lot of things to, maybe because I got lost some point, and then I need to find myself, and I don't know where to if people are not guiding me through it. I do think I ask for a lot of feedback, but I don't normally hear them.
But like, because we do ask for feedback on a lot of stuff, right? Stuff that we make, but not on our like personal behaviors. Like, we just come out of a meeting and then we ask like, hey, you guys think that I did okay here, or should I have said that differently or whatever? We don't really do that too often, I think.
Well, you did to me when the biggest fight of the Force Scout history, that was between Sylvester, me, and you guys, and all of us, and was a big mess. I asked you, and you gave me feedback about it. Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
about my behavior, about how I behaved, and I asked Arno as well, and I think you all guys did. And I think it was better that I asked rather than you guys would have come to me and just say what I should have done. I think it was definitely a better outcome of it.
It takes some courage, right? To do that, to ask for it.
To hear the
Yeah.
truth.
And was it helpful for you?
Yeah.
Like, did it actually
Yes.
make it easier for you to, step over the situation and try to improve from it?
I think what is hard about this is that, like, we all have a different perspective of what happens, right? And the way how I express it, I thought I was doing like the right thing, and content-wise, I was doing the right thing. But let's say the tone of voice, the body language, and everything was wrong. And that was because you are basically an observer of the conversation, you could explain to me like, it felt like you are my father, tell me what to do, and that felt wrong. And then for me, it was like, it definitely helped me to see that the way how I acted was not appropriate.
No, the same
made
goes
me
for me,
see
of
different.
course. But I did not act appropriately back then. And it was a heated discussion, right? Let's not call it a fight. Things can get passionate at the Force Scouts.
it was a full-fledged fight. You guys were yelling, but whatever. It's okay. We don't have to.
How about the transparency part, right? He keeps bringing back, and he is not transparent, but it was a fight.
It was good that it was over. It was a Google Meet, right? I think if you guys were in the same room together, fist fight maybe.
Actually, I think that would have worked better.
Probably, yeah.
I don't know. I don't think we ever go to fist
I'm
fight
just joking.
because I'm not allowed to hit older people. But like,
You won't win
No, that's a
anyway,
joke.
man. Gotcha.
no, but it was good that for me, because I remember I was at home, so I just closed my laptop and it was over, right? And then
Yeah, I remember.
the whole thing went away.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was in the same office, I know we would just continue the discussion until it would go nowhere. And I think that was a big learning. But the point is, it took us a while, but we managed to fix the rupture. And I think that's what makes the team better.
Yeah. And I know we also talked about it, right, afterwards. Okay, I think you actually addressed it. Okay, keep focusing on the team. Make sure that this stays a team, right? Keep doing the transparency thing. And, I think that's one aspect of Corona that's easy to forget, maybe, right? You're not as close together anymore, so you keep... we're now doing the same exercises at clients. We just talked about it this morning. But I think it's very hard to stay together as a team. So maybe there's some truth in what you're saying, Arno. We need to be more together. But
and that's a nice bridge, I guess, to where you mentioned applying it to clients, because we can quote ourselves all day and talk about our experiences about how we try to get to this high performant team state. But let's say you're a company with 6 people in a team that just do their thing on a day-to-day basis. Like, how would they start to build trust with one another? Because you cannot just go from 0 to 100% radical candor in a day, right? Like, how would a customer approach something like that? And I know they should just hire us, but let's say we don't.
Thanks,
have
Rolf. Thanks. Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay, that's close enough. I think the first step would actually maybe address it out loud that you want to establish this, right? And in our office, or maybe Arno can rotate the camera, but there's actually also a picture or the poster of the 5 dysfunctions, right? Why is this important? Explain that stuff, and then, I think you just did that exercise, right? Ask the personal questions exercise. That's one example from Patrick Lencioni.
Yeah, but
I think that's pretty great.
Yeah, but that requires a team to be already open to it, right? So they would have to somehow admit or recognize that there is a trust issue. And how would you get that unearthed?
I don't agree.
You don't agree? Okay, interesting.
I think if there is no trust issue, then people have no problem answering those questions. If there is a trust issue,
So the thing is, I'm gonna call out in here because we did this exercise with a company in the past, long time ago. That there was not per se a feeling that there was no lack of trust, but then once those personal questions come, the answers are really like, oh, I don't have anything to share. Oh, my childhood was okay. Oh, like it's very vague.
Not
you
all
see
of
that
them.
people,
Not all of them.
Sure, but a few of them, most of them were like that. Yeah.
A few.
Well, so I think the question still remains. It's not answered. Like, okay, so your recommendation would be you start by asking personal questions.
I don't think then it's a trust issue. If people don't want to answer those questions, part of the group apparently feels the trust or at least the comfort that they're willing to answer those questions, right? And if some people don't, and they're unwilling to build the trust for whatever reason, then I would seriously wonder whether they should be in a team.
Yeah, but
too soon.
Doesn't that even break the trust even further?
Exactly, it's too soon.
I think these questions are meant to build trust, not to validate trust.
Yeah, but you still need some sort of bond with your peers to actually be able to tell that.
Exactly.
It's not like we get a new hire and we ask him, "Yo, give us your childhood problems." Doesn't work like that.
It's part of.
To be honest,
that's also not a question we're asking.
Recruitment,
just to be clear, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, it's a bit.
There's a bit more to it, but okay.
I think it needs some time. So.
No, but it's a hard one, right?
I don't know. If you bring a group of people together and you ask them the question and they're willing to share it, and to share their answer, and then one person holds out without actually doing so, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but you're assuming that everybody is willing to. We discussed this earlier. If Rico is in somewhere and he has full trust unless proven otherwise, and I'm coming with a little bit lower, you have to prove it more to me. If people come, people I don't know come with this stuff, I don't think I would answer openly at the first week, maybe. For me, it would take time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's normal, right? And I mean, let's be honest, right? It's like, I imagine I go to a team, and then suddenly this person asks, "Yeah, tell me about your worst fears." Like, I'm sorry, but who are you? Like, it's, I don't know what your intentions are, and of course I can trust you, but yet I want to see a little bit of you. I think it has to be a build up. I don't think you can just ask and pretend that like, hey, I give you my full trust, so you have to answer all the deep questions that you are afraid of answering to yourself. Like, I don't think it works at all that way.
But how would you start then?
It is
By just
definitely
doing work
Yeah.
together, or by having one-on-one conversations about just, you know, people's weekends, or like how would you?
I think the way, at least how I start myself with the teams, is talking about myself,
Exactly.
right? Like, hey, I had this experience, and I start sharing because I think it shows that I'm vulnerable to them, and then they will become vulnerable to me. So I think we can always apply exercise and things, but I think the easiest way to start is
Start with yourself.
by showing that yourself is vulnerable and are willing to have a conversation. And I think there is a level too, right? If I'm gonna come back and say I'm fully depressed and oh my god, I lost all my two parents, and the first hour, like, people are gonna be, who is this weirdo? You know, like, I don't want to deal with his problems. It's like, so I think there is a line in there that has to start slowly, and you have to build up, and then have some conflicts, because I think also what teams that we go to, they are afraid of conflicts, right? They think, wow, if we are fighting, this is bad. So fighting is maybe the wrong word, but you can have a healthy conflict, right? You can disagree, you can be upset to each other, and that's all good. And eventually another week, then you drink a beer.
Isn't
and
that also one of the 5
Actually,
dysfunctions, like fear of conflict?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually said that at a client a few months ago, that my end goal for that whole team was actually that in the end they should be able to fight, to have heavy discussions within the meeting, and then walk away and agree to, well, whatever they agree to, right? And focus on that. I think that's actually the holy grail. If a team is capable of doing that, just being able to, well, almost fight about what's the best way to tackle this specific challenge or whatever, then you're getting somewhere. And if people are holding back, okay, I'm not willing to share my answer, although I think I'm right.
Yeah.
There's no, you don't get that shared sense. Okay, we need to make this happen.
And so I have another question for you guys. Like, for example, and he gave the feedback to me last time about the podcast, right, where I had to leave early, and he was a bit upset about it. Let's say if I didn't agree with the radical candor he gave me, like, or, you know, any radical candor someone can give you, and he's like, yeah, I don't agree, dude, like, whatever. What would be an appropriate response? Like, is it best to then just have a discussion about, like, you know, all points of views, or do you need to accept the radical candor, say, thank you for this feedback, I'll see what I can do with it? Or how does a person respond to something that they don't necessarily agree with?
I think there is a clarification to this, right? Because let's say if you actually do a radical candor, I think almost always the person is going to accept, because the radical candor, for the people who haven't read the book, basically means that you are challenging that person, but you are caring about that person. And I think there is deep things in us. If we feel that the person is caring about us and is just challenging us, they are not going to be triggered, right? So I think if you actually do the proper feedback in a radical candor way, I don't think that's gonna, have that, let's say, reaction that you are describing. But let's say a lot of times when I get it wrong and I am more like obnoxious aggressor, that I'm actually challenging but not caring, because it happens. Sometimes I just don't care about you guys or about whoever is next to me. and then I challenge very much direct. Then I think, yes, the response comes the opposite. And then I think your question. So I was just wanted to clarify the term.
Right.
And I think we have a number of examples, right, on how this actually happened to us, because I did this wrong so many times, especially I think with Sylvester.
Of course.
I do remember at some point I said, it feels like, this is open communication, right? But at some point I think I told you, okay, it feels like every week there's something new that I'm doing wrong.
And it's true, yes, true.
Something
probably
you can improve.
I'll admit that.
Let's keep it positive.
Exactly.
Something you can improve.
Yeah, but that's not what I said, right? So, and I like there's always something to improve and that we can work on. But I also think you need to dose it somehow, right?
For sure.
I don't know, actually.
I agree.
I do, but that's from experience. Anyway, that was one of those discussions we had. And I actually think it was a good thing, right? But the thing is, especially if you're not that close together, so right, we have this weekly thing where we actually, like this podcast or like our weekly meeting, where we actually talk about it. And every meeting, you then get feedback. Okay, yeah. Well, actually, radical candor, right? Okay, you should improve on this because this and this. It gets a bit tiring, maybe.
Yeah, but then there is a trade-off in there, right? So let's say, hypothetically speak, you three just do something wrong all the time that annoys the crap out of me, Punch and Bara, all the time, and then we should not give it a feedback because, well, it's tiring for you guys, but you forget that it's freaking tiring for the rest, right? Like, so for me, the trade-off is like, oh, if I don't say it, I have to be getting annoyed over and over, and then that means my emotional thresholds go higher, and eventually, instead of having a healthy conflict, what it's going to end up having is a heated discussion.
Yeah, but then it's
And
the
I think
problem,
if it
is
annoys
the
you,
problem more yourself,
No.
like that you.
yeah,
that-
exactly.
that, like, dude, why is so many things annoying to you? Like, what's happening?
Well, but then that's the question, right? So a feedback doesn't mean that is, let's say, and I think the way how it's described it is more like it's coming all the time as a feedback. But I think it came as a conversation point, and then the person felt attacked, right? And like, oh, okay, it's a feedback to me. No, it's just a misunderstanding that we try to agree. So I think there is also this, like, for example, imagine the story that Sylvester mentioned that Arno was making a joke, right? Arno could have said, yeah, dude, chill up, it's just a fucking joke, right? I mean, like, and then he could kept going with the joke forever. I mean,
I can
and
do
if
that.
he already gave a feedback to Arno, he like, yeah, I cannot give another one because I already gave one. I don't know if I agree. I think
No.
we should be always able to talk about.
Yeah, but what you just said, right? It annoys me. That's what you said. That I think the feedback should probably also be about what you're trying to accomplish as a team, right? It should be related to that because if
For
you're
sure.
annoyed by a person,
No,
yeah,
I agree.
tough luck.
The way how I describe it, the annoying, it doesn't make sense at all.
no,
No, but like for me, for example, like
Yeah.
sometimes I can get really annoyed, but then when I sleep over it, it's like, it's not even a big deal. And then you can either choose to directly give the feedback because it annoys you on that specific moment, or you can say like, you know what, I thought about it. It's not a big deal. I'm not even mad. I'm just going to let it slide. I mean, both can be okay, right? Or do you think
I agree.
sleeping over something and then just forgetting about it is actually the worst of the two options?
No,
well, it might be my biggest problem then because I got weekly feedback. I can be chewing on this stuff for weeks, right? Okay, how I'm gonna improve on this, and then it kind of builds up. So maybe that was my thing.
So you
But
need to
do we-
improve your feedback cycle process. Your process to...
but it's also like there is a difference.
I disagree,
between,
Arno.
I think there is a difference between if you are getting the same feedback every week and if you're getting feedback about different things, right? Because
Yeah,
like
and-
imagine you are just coding, I don't know, and then you get a feedback, hey man, your code is not so clean. And then the other week you get a feedback about, hey, you're leaving the cups on the table. And then the other week is like, hey, you are joking every meet. They are all different feedbacks. And then it's like, shouldn't you give them? Because even let's say if they are valid and you are not the only one who shared their opinion, just because you already gave 2 weeks before and now they are totally different contexts. So I agree if it is about the same thing. Hey, I told you this 2 weeks ago. I told you this last week. You didn't even give space for the person to try. Then I think, yeah, you should just sleep on it and think on it and then take a chill pill. But if they are all totally unrelated, maybe it's...
Well, I don't know.
know.
Like
I
to me,
think-
that comes down to
I would love to hear. Let's
yeah.
put
To
like
me,
that.
then comes down to like what's more annoying to me than the other things. Like if I have 3 things, like you said, right, the cups and the other thing and the coding, and then it's like, well, the coding actually affects my work, so I'm just going to give the coding feedback first, and then the cups, whatever, man, it can wait 2 weeks. Like that's at least how I usually go about things. But yeah.
But I think the part that I think the way how it works for me, then it becomes a
Yeah.
build up, right? Like, okay, I'm not telling about the coding, I'm not telling about the coffee, I'm not telling about the jokes, and then eventually it builds up. And if I actually tackle them the moment that I should have tackled them, probably wouldn't have been like a week. Probably what I did was I slept on them like how you said, like, oh, I'm gonna just sleep on them and maybe it forgets. And I did that with all of them, and then just became a package that I was in a bad moment in life, and then I just decided to
Go ham.
give a feedback, but I was actually just being
Yeah.
aggressive, and I think you have a point.
Cool. Nice.
No, you have a point. Yeah, man, just agreeing.
Cool.
What did I do wrong?
No,
man?
nothing.
No, I just was a bit unexpected for me, like a whole build-up, like, you have a point.
No, I don't think there's a good
Just
answer,
the
right? I mean, it's just, everyone is different. Everyone has a different way of handling problems. And as long as you can communicate about it, and I mean, it's almost like having a relationship, right? You just need to keep talking. And
it's not almost, it's actually
It
about,
is.
It's not a romantic relationship,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
to be
of
clear
course.
for the listeners, right?
yeah. There's so many potentials for jokes here, but we'll let this.
Yeah, I know.
Slide.
Yeah.
I'm leaving it, yeah.
I mean, like we actually spend almost more time together than we spend with our relative partners. So that's like it is a big relationship and it's a big part of the day. But I do want to say something though.
Uh-oh.
It's interesting because we are talking about high performing teams, and so far we have not touched anything related to technical skills. Right? So basically, what we say for being a high performing team is all about trusting each other, understanding each other, have a
Willing
feedback
to
loop
fight.
of, you need to have health conflicts. I'm going to change the fighting. But like, does it have space for like a technical person who is super brilliant at what they do, but somehow doesn't allow feedback, doesn't give feedback, is just doesn't like to work in a team? How do you guys see
No,
that?
I don't think a team can deal with someone that doesn't want to be part of the team. Because that's basically what you're saying, right?
No, I'm just saying as a person that in their eyes they are great technically and they want to be part of this team, but their concept of team is different than what we consider a team, I guess.
Okay, but if they don't want to follow the same practices or the same values, right? As in we share feedback and we adopt a way of working or we agree on certain things, then you're being a brilliant jerk, right?
So you think a brilliant jerk should not be part of a high-performing team?
Yes. I don't think a high-performing team can exist with a brilliant jerk.
Okay, Sylvester, you're fired.
So, but like, let's say
sorry.
let's say I have a startup, right?
Now he calls me a brilliant
Let's
jerk.
say I have a startup, and I'm the marketing guy, and I have a brilliant jerk making the code for me, and then I have like, I don't know, one or two other people working, and we're one team making one product. But there's one brilliant dude.
No, you're not one team.
No, but let's say we call ourselves a team. We might not be a team, but we'll call ourselves a team.
Okay.
And this startup can be pretty successful, right? This guy is making all the code, and the customers are happy, and we're making money. And in the end, we're selling the startup for $2 million to some sort of investment company. I mean, is that a high performing team or not? It's successful, but is it high performance?
I don't know. Maybe it could have sold for 20 million if you actually had a high-performing team. I don't know. It depends. It's great that you actually sold it for 2 million, but what would have been possible, right? I think that's...
Yeah, I agree. I think it's another thing. Like you sold, you had an exit. It doesn't mean that you reach your true potential of a success.
Okay.
And I think also depends how you measure success. But I
think-
agree. I think you should not tolerate a brilliant jerk.
Let's say you do have one in the team right now, and he doesn't. He's a
I feel singled out here, guys. After that last remark by Aik or Henk.
well, you might be a jerk,
No,
but
man,
about
you're
the
not that
Nah, I'm
brilliant.
joking. But
God.
sorry.
sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'm
building
on
up
a
some
meme
radical
mode.
candor here.
No, but like how if he's not aware or whatever, like would you turn such a person around, or would you just say like, you know what, either you get with the program or we will replace you with someone else? Is that an option?
Your
Like,
connection
do you
is
need to
breaking
play
up.
that hardcore?
So I think what you're trying to say is how would you make someone part of the team? And well, if they're willing to become part of the team, right? And maybe the vulnerability exercises could help, or I don't know, actually doing team exercises. The culture code actually has this example of, I think the SEAL teams or something, walking around with those tree logs, or lifting them together. So it's not just about the physical exercise, it's also about being able to sync. Or even mobbing, right? We're doing the mob program workshop. It's also doing something as a team. All that stuff, I was looking for a better word there, can actually help you become part of the team. But if you have the personality, I don't want to do this, and I want to be the lone cowboy.
Yeah, but then who calls it is? Like, then is the boss called to fire this person? Is his team responsibility to say, I no longer want to work with you? I think that was his question. Like, how do you deal with this guy, who it is part of your team right now, for whatever reason, right? Like sometimes we don't choose the people that we work with. How would we deal with this person?
I'm not sure if I'm the best person to ask, because I'm not
Yeah, you're not part of the team. I get it.
Thanks for that.
Oh, so like the way how I look at it, I don't know why I'm picking on Sylvester again today.
Well, I
But,
know. That's what you normally do.
It's just a very easy to joke. But like, okay, so I actually got a feedback from one of the listeners like, yeah, man, you always make fun of the ginger. So I'm going to stop. What?
Who called me ginger? Let's talk about that. Who said that?
That was the listener.
Transparency.
And the listener is always right. You know, we don't burn the listener here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, that's a
so you
customer.
guys can make fun of us. That's okay. So I see this in two ways, right? I think if you have a high-performing team, I think it's the job of the high-performing team to fire this person and say, hey, you're no longer are welcome here. Please find your way somewhere else because you don't want to tag along. But I think if you don't have yet a high-performing team and you are in the process of creating one, it is the job of the manager, the boss, the CEO, or team lead, whatever, to basically say, hey, you're welcome to stay if you want to, you know, change your behavior, but if not, please leave.
Yeah, or they leave by themselves, right? When they see like, hey, this team is moving in a direction that I don't see myself fitting in, and then they usually make the conclusion themselves.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, how are you guys on time? Do you want to continue the discussion, or because I thought some of you guys had a 4:00 deadline? Yeah.
Yeah, I need to move.
So you're saying you need to leave early for a podcast in such
Very.
I'll
yeah,
stop.
so basically after I gave the feedback to Rolf,
Yeah,
I
I'm
did
very
the same.
disappointed, man. But you're lucky that we don't have
Disappointed,
a famous guest, so I'll let it slide.
Hey, I'm here. Oh.
We got okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Now, so should we continue, or do we? I think we've talked about it enough, right? Or do you guys want to share? Do you guys want to share your biggest fear, just to show some vulnerability to our listener, and have that as an ending?
No, let's not share our biggest fear, because then I would have to think about it.
Okay.
Um,
What?
Oh, then it's not big enough. I think it would be nice. Because I'm leaving and then I let you guys decide that whatever you're gonna do it. I did share a vulnerability today with two of my colleagues today was Arno and Sylvester, but I didn't share it with you.
Let me hear it.
And it is an interesting. We are talking about parenting and all this kind of complicated subject, but like, I don't per se think it's a fear, but it is a thing that I realized later. Like, I have a kid now; he's 2, and he is like today was a proud day because he pooped in a potty.
Congratulations, man!
And he was like he was super excited, and he was running in the house, Papa, I pooped, And then I was like, wow, man, he is so proud of that, and I could not feel pride, like about the things that I achieved, and the reason why, after like a few years trying to realize, it all came to a childhood event where I did something that I considered to be great, and then I called my mom, like, hey, mom, look what I can do. And then I showed to her, and then I was like with this super pride feeling, and I was expecting, that she would be like, oh, this is great. And her reaction was more like, you should not be proud of yourself, you should not brag about it, this is a horrible behavior, like she just shut it down. And based on that, I can not feel pride of any achievement that I make. And that's my vulnerability for you guys today.
Well,
so
thanks for sharing, man.
Thanks for sharing.
and then see you guys
Cool,
in the
man.
next one.
Ciao.
Sure, man.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, so I guess I'll share one of my vulnerable moments as well, which is actually pretty recent, right? Because of the whole photo shoot thing. Because I don't really like to smile my teeth on camera because I think I have pretty messed up teeth. Because I fell as a child from my bike and like one of my front teeth fell out. And now I have like, I used to have braces and everything. So my teeth all, they got, how do you say? They moved up to close the hole basically. So I'm very conscious about my teeth. So it was really uncomfortable for me to actually do the photo shoot and try to smile. And then when you see the photos, it's like, well, yeah, I notice it a lot. I don't think you guys even notice it at all, but for me that's it's very confrontational, and it's something that I have to either accept or do something about. Of course, you can always maybe get a fake Hollywood smile, but so that's for me is my moment of vulnerability.
Okay. Heavy stuff. Well, I think I can share one. Right, because when Corona started happening, of course, and you start thinking about the company and how you're going to survive as a company, because everything was kind of like, well, who knows? One of my biggest fears actually became that one of you would actually leave, right? Because yes, I do think we are a high-performing team. So, and the team dynamic kind of changes as soon as someone drops off, right? And you all know that over the times, I think we had a lot of people to interview for 4Scouts. Only a handful for you. Well, at least not a lot actually came through. So what would happen, right? Would that be the end of 4Scouts? Would that be the degrading decline, basically? That's one of my biggest
fears. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the job.
Yeah, well, this one is on the job. I also have other ones, but I won't overload our listeners.
One is enough. One is enough.
One is enough.
So, Arno, do you?
I guess I'm the last one.
Yes.
Okay, I thought about it, and I'm skipping the personal one from my personal life for the next time. But I have one for the job right now, which is actually newly acquired, and I'm not sure how that came. So we want to change our model, right? We changed our model. We want to give help to other companies and give presentations and do workshop, blah 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 blah. And somehow, I don't know what flipped in the recent months. I guess I'm actually pretty scared to do a presentation. And I did one in January, I think, and which went horribly wrong. That's not a subject. And somehow, it doesn't matter right now.
Oh,
I don't think our listeners care that much. And somehow it's holding me back to easily go for a presentation just say I'm going to do it. I'm not sure why.
Is it because we're shifting the focus to the presentations being part of the stuff that we sell? So now instead of being something on the side, I'm a developer or senior developer, and then on the side sometimes I give a presentation, but whatever. And now is it okay, I'm presenting these concepts?
I don't know, because I think something changed with me, because what I did with the customer, I gave a lot, almost weekly, or at least sometimes a week in between, on various subjects. Yep. And then after that customer, I tried to push a lot of meetups as well, where I should give it, and I really didn't have a big problem with that. And right now I just, I don't know why.
Interesting.
And I was just there, so that's it. So I thought I'd share with you guys.
Right. Thanks for that. So I guess that wraps it up then for today's episode. If you guys want to share with us a vulnerable moment, which I don't think you will, but if you do want to do that, it's of course it's possible. Then please give us a message on anchor.fm/4scouts. You can send us a message there, and we can play it in the podcast. Yeah, Sylvester, what do you want to say?
At the very least, I want to know who called me Ginger.
And
step forward in the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. Come on, bring it.
If you guys would like to maybe sometimes join one of our podcasts, or if you have tips and tricks for us to improve, please feel free to leave us a message. Like I said, on Anchor, you can send us a voice message, but you can also send us an email at podcast@4scouts.nl or on Twitter @4scouts. Okay, I want to thank my guests. And Hiek, you're already gone, but thanks for being here. Sylvester, thank you as well. And Arno, of course, thank you very much for being here.
Yeah.
And
thanks, man.
Yeah, I'm going to check you guys on the next episode. Ciao. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
All right, man.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Scoutcast, Roasting Marshmallows, with your host, Rolf Surd. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit 4scouts.nl and on Twitter @4scouts. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on Scoutcast, Roasting Marshmallows.